Middle class is poorer and more frugal than ever. As the storm approaches, Chinese central enterprises and state-owned enterprises accelerate the divestment of financial assets. Middle class is poorer and more frugal than ever. In January of last year, when the CCP finally lifted the zero COVID epidemic prevention measures and allowed Chinese citizens to travel abroad, many countries' tourism industries had high hopes. However, as China's economic situation continues to worsen, more and more small and middle-class citizens are tightening their purse strings when traveling, and some are choosing not to travel or to travel less. Last year, 87 million Chinese citizens traveled abroad, a 40% decrease from 2019 before the pandemic. Only 3.5 million Chinese tourists visited Thailand, about one-third of the nearly 11 million in 2019. According to tourism data from the United Nations, Chinese tourists spent 24% less last year compared to 2019, while American tourists spent 14% more. Mr. Liu, a Thai tourism operator, said that the number of mainland Chinese tour groups coming to Thailand is at least half of what it used to be, and their spending power has significantly decreased. Mr. Liu, a Thai travel agent, even the tour guide from the group I led today had a hoarse voice. Even the popular parachute activity, which used to be a must, wasn't taken by anyone. It's quite common now. People are just reluctant to spend money. Mr. Liu mentioned that many Chinese tourists now have a just visiting mentality, holding onto their wallets tightly and trying not to spend money. Mr. Liu added that many Chinese who travel to Thailand are now middle and low-income individuals. In order to attract business, Chinese travel agencies are competing fiercely, with some even offering a 7-day luxury tour of Thailand for only 555 yuan. Mr. Liu, if customers don't buy anything, the travel agency loses money. If they don't participate in activities, the tour guide loses money. So it's common for customers to be pressured into shopping, scolded, or even beaten. This downgrade in consumption is very evident. A tourist from Wuhan told Mr. Liu that before the pandemic, his small shop earned 10,000 to 20,000 yuan per month. Now, it's hard enough just to keep the shop running. He also showed Mr. Liu a video of Hanjing Street, a famous commercial street in Wuhan that he personally recorded. Mr. Liu, it used to be crowded and bustling. Now, only a few shops remain open and the rest are closed. Clothing stores are the first to go. Some restaurants survive because people still need to eat. But for tourist goods, small accessories, souvenirs, etc., it's over. People don't buy them unless they have to. Mr. Tan from Fuzhou, Fujian, said that the local standard of living can only be described as resembling the Great Depression. Nothing is going well, and the tourism industry is naturally suffering. Even 13th Street, the most lively street in Fuzhou, has seen most stores close down. Mr. Tan from Fuzhou, tourism is nearly stagnant. There are some domestic travelers, but far fewer are traveling abroad. I hardly hear of anyone going abroad to play these days. Mr. Wu from Guangzhou, the overall decline in consumption is quite obvious. I drove back to my hometown on August 13th and found that there were noticeably fewer cars and people on the Beijing-Zhuhai Expressway, even in the rest areas. I travel this route often, and there are never this few people, even on weekdays. Mr. Liu said that because of the economic downturn, many middle-class people from mainland China have come to Thailand, and more are continuing to arrive. Mr. Liu, many residential areas, especially middle and high-end ones, are filled with Chinese people. It feels like I'm still in China. The economy is the main reason. The second reason is that many people in China woke up because of the pandemic. You can now see that many people realize they are being taken advantage of. Douyin videos are being forwarded to friends on WeChat. What is China's national dish? Leeks. We are the national dish. Why leeks? Because leeks can be harvested over and over again without complaints. Mr. Liu said that those Chinese who are woke and have the means are trying to leave, while those without the means can't leave even if they want to. Recession and financial risks are increasing. At the request of the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission, SASAC, of the Communist Party of China, Some central enterprises have recently begun selling their equity in financial institutions. Commentators believe this may bring shocks to the entire financial system. On September 15th, mainland media reported that the SASAC of the State Council has taken action against financial assets that account for more than half of the holdings of central enterprises. Earlier in June, a meeting held by the SASAC stipulated that, in principle, all central enterprises must not establish, acquire, or newly participate in financial institutions. They are also not allowed to increase their holdings in financial institutions that have minimal benefit to their main industry and carry significant risk spillover. The meeting also declared that state-owned central enterprises should now focus on developing their core industries. American economist David Huang said, "It proves that the SASAC has separated central enterprises from the financial services industry, which will be strictly investigated and cracked down on in the next stage. This means that future or ongoing rectification of the financial services industry may deal a devastating blow to many financial enterprises. If these central enterprises and state-owned enterprises are involved, they could introduce financial risks to themselves. That's the reason." Following the release of this decree, which the market has dubbed the refund order, several central enterprises, including Sinochem Capital, China Poly, and Anshan Iron and Steel Group, have started selling their stakes in financial institutions and accelerating the divestment of financial assets. David Huang continued, "Of course, the rectification of the financial services industry aims to redirect funds to the real economy. However, in the process of this rectification, many small and medium-sized financial institutions, especially those in the trust, insurance, and securities industries, will face significant shocks or even bankruptcy. Therefore, central enterprises must withdraw in time." The SASAC's decree has raised another question: who will take over these potentially risky assets? Especially if these assets are problematic, who will be willing to buy them? David Huang commented, "This is a short-term rectification of the industry. I believe it will cause partial shocks to the financial system, and many enterprises within this system are facing bankruptcy, collapse, or transformation. In the short term, this is very negative for the economy and people's livelihoods." The report pointed out that financial assets currently account for a large proportion of central enterprises' holdings, especially listed central enterprises, with more than 80% of their assets involving the financial sector. Experts noted that the supervision of central enterprises' participation and control over financial institutions stems from increasingly serious financial risks. The report quoted central enterprise personnel as saying that the era of central enterprises relying on financial businesses to make quick money is coming to an end. The development of the financial industry is crucial for the stability of China's economy. The decline in income and profits of some central and state-owned enterprises indicates that the economy is under great pressure. Outsiders believe that under the refund order, the first to be affected will be the financial institutions involved in liquidation and transfer, which will also impact the entire financial market.
China's economic downturn has left many citizens facing financial insecurity, especially those who were once part of the high-income group. The collapse of the real estate market has led people to shift careers rapidly, with some facing the harsh reality of downsizing and struggling to make ends meet. The company next door closed down again. Everyone took a look. It's empty inside. The owner came from Hebei, probably dealt in second-hand mobile phones before and sold them offline. When he came to Hangzhou, he wanted to do social media. However, after paying the deposit and rent, he ran the business for over a month and lost a lot of cash, then just disappeared. The coffee tables, decorations, and the cabinet here, including the office desk, the total investment, including rent and utilities, was 100,000 yuan, all loss. Out-of-town owners shouldn't easily come to Hangzhou for entrepreneurship. Hangzhou is not a place where everyone can make money, especially in the current bad economic environment, where many businesses are closing down. In the prosperous days of our store in Daqing, the Donghua Group was incredibly wealthy. The group's headquarters now stand deserted, and the villa on the lake island, where the chairman used to host guests, is empty. The opulence of that era is evident in the grandeur of the building. To reach the island, one needs a boat, accompanied by cages for poultry. The surrounding ground has already collapsed, and those who once dined on the island were undoubtedly prominent figures in Daqing. However, the place now lies in ruins. The chairman of the group also constructed houses and villas for the surrounding residents, complete with comprehensive facilities. Yet, it seems people are no longer inclined to live here, and everything appears absurd. As a young local from Daxing, witnessing this for the first time was truly awe-inspiring. One can imagine how prosperous this place once was. The difficult year of 2023 for private enterprises has passed, and the new year of 2024 has begun. How many private entrepreneurs will collapse at the end of this year? The surrounding businesses are advancing in the harsh winter, carrying various debts and receiving countless collection calls every day. Calls come from banks, intermediaries, courts, customers, landlords, secondary landlords, and even workers demanding their wages, among others. Every day, messages flood the phone as soon as one opens their eyes. Debt collectors on WeChat and Alipay have had their accounts closed. Looking at the daily calls related to debt on WeChat, one hopes to see a change, but there is still no news of supportive policies. The road for private enterprises is exceedingly difficult. Those who are corrupt cannot even come up with tens of thousands of yuan with a single phone call. Many enterprises have been hollowed out. Who can truly understand the situation of running a business? Why have China's private enterprises reached such a predicament? Can someone provide an exit for entrepreneurs? Everyone is suffering, everyone has become a desperate debtor. When did everyone suddenly unable even to afford a meal?
什么时候忽然置顶冒饭都吃不上了，还管这些形式主义吗？
The precipice of middle-class impoverishment. In 2023, China saw its inflation rate soar to 5.6%, a figure that substantially eclipses the average levels witnessed in preceding years. This inflation, marked by a significant uptick in food and energy prices, has directly impacted household finances, raising daily expenses at an alarming rate. Concurrently, the Chinese economy's GDP growth rate declined to 4.5% in 2024, a sharp downturn from its previous robust figures. This economic deceleration reflects widespread shutdown in manufacturing and exports, vital sectors that have historically propelled China's economic engines. In the latter half of 2023, Dongguan, known as the world's factory, experienced the closure of several major factories. The first to cease operations was Huguang Wuxin Plastic Products Limited Company, established for 32 years and located in Xi'an Port. It officially announced its closure on October 31st. Just a day later, Dongguan's packaging giant, Xiaoming Industrial Company, also declared its cessation of operations. Following suit, ZTE Electronics, a Japanese-owned enterprise in Kyoto, Dongguan, closed its doors permanently at the end of the year. Additionally, Dongguan Sharpai Xingao Plastic Products Limited Company, Jingguan Precision Technology Limited Company, and Linghai Jinuan Factory and Jinan Hardware Factory all announced closures or staff dissolution during the year. Shenzhen's Xi'an Electronics, a 38-year-old electronics factory and former major OEM provider for international brands, has closed its doors due to declining orders and adverse global economic conditions. The closure, effective August 18, 2023, has left a substantial workforce unemployed. The factory, once employing 17,000 workers at its peak, handled around 20 shipping containers of goods daily, producing small home appliances such as coffee makers and beer dispensers for international markets. In recent years, the company established a factory in Indonesia, redirecting some orders to capitalize on lower costs. The closure of Xi'an Electronics signifies the end of an era, with employees celebrating its final day as they bid farewell to their long-standing workplace. This led to the phenomenon called middle-class impoverishment, underpins the growing concern among the Chinese populace regarding financial stability. The narratives abound, from those paring down their lifestyles and facing the harsh realities of unemployment or reduced salaries, to those unable to afford the basic essentials. The discussion illuminates a significant shift in consumer behavior, termed downgrading consumption, characterized by declining sales figures not just in extravagance but across the board, a bellwether of the contracted purchasing power among the majority.
太难过了，现在。昨天还挺好的，市场人还挺多的，我这刚。
Oh, it's really heartbreaking. Everything was fine just yesterday. The market was bustling with people. I just received a shipment worth over $1 million, and now I don't know what to do. There's nowhere to sell. But where have all the customers gone? Why aren't they coming? There's no choice. I have to stay strong. All of these are winter styles with integrated fur. This one is a cowhide design with a beautiful small color. This one is from Xi'an, a green one with genuine sheep wool inside, also for men. This was a popular one I posted last time. The little motorcycle and the fur on the sheep are all made of small cowhide. The place where it's made is burst cowhide, and the tail is also made mostly of burst cowhide to prevent deformation when walking. This pair of shoes is the warmest for winter.
冬天这一双鞋是最温暖的，必须得直播了给你们。
According to the China Power Project, a staggering 68% of China's middle class falls within the lower middle income category, a figure that starkly contrasts with more egalitarian distributions seen in other countries, such as Sweden's 11%. This discrepancy not only highlights the vast income inequality within China but also signals the fragility of its middle class's economic status. King Kong, the founder of Jiawei Media, who has over 200 million fans in China and is an e-commerce professional manager for 20 years, shared his view about the topics. China's economic miracle has lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty, creating a sizable new middle class over the past few decades. However, this group now faces declining prospects and a precarious future. Out of China's 1.4 billion people, some 470 million are considered middle class by the government's definition, having an annual income between 50,000 and 420,000 yuan. This represents over one-third of the population. Yet when examining the actual living standards afforded by such incomes, especially in Tier 1 and 2 cities, this group is far from experiencing a true middle-class lifestyle. There are four main factors are now squeezing the middle class in China. Firstly, housing affordability. With real estate prices skyrocketing, middle-class families struggle to buy homes even with both parents working. Most can only afford mortgages, leaving them house poor or fearful of selling. Secondly, the rising cost of living. Despite moderate wage growth, expenses for healthcare, education, supporting aging parents have gone up much faster. Little is left for discretionary spending. Luxuries like nice restaurants or smartphones feel increasingly out of reach. Thirdly, the inability to properly save for retirement and old age care. With the majority of life savings spent on end-of-life medical treatment, the middle class lacks financial security in their golden years. Finally, diminished opportunities for wealth accumulation compared to previous generations. With slowing GDP growth, barriers to entry in hot industries higher, and more frequent economic shocks, replicating the success of those who got rich in the early reform era has become near impossible. Due to the declining economy, the shift of behavior is to be expected. China's gross savings rate, as of December 2021, stands at a staggering 45.9%, mirroring its figure from the previous year. This high rate of savings, measured against the gross domestic product, GDP, underscores a national propensity towards frugality and financial prudence, surpassing global norms and expectations. China itself is the largest market, but the Chinese people have a savings rate of nearly 50%, the highest in the world. However, why do ordinary people not spend their money? Why don't they consume? Chinese citizens lack sufficient security in areas such as healthcare, education, and elderly care. It's as if they are like ordinary people who, due to the lack of adequate safeguards, save money diligently. For example, medical expenses, education costs, and retirement planning are areas where the ordinary people feel vulnerable. They save money as a form of personal safety net, akin to having a small basin of water that they can use to extinguish a fire when needed. Consequently, when a substantial amount of money is spent, it often seems to have little impact, and the general populace doesn't experience a strong sense of achievement or well-being. Export downturn, the reverberations felt in key markets. At the heart of China's economic tumult is an alarming decline in exports, a cornerstone that has always been pivotal to China's economic growth narrative. Traditionally accounting for over 30% of China's GDP, the reliance on exports has slightly diminished to around 20% as the Chinese economy diversified. However, recent sharp downturns in exports, especially to stalwarts like Germany, underscore a concerning trend. Reports surfaced that Germany's exports to China plummeted, with notable declines spanning across the automobile and chemical sectors. Similarly, imports from China to Germany saw a significant decrease, which positions the United States to surpass China as Germany's largest trading partner by 2025. Specifically, exports from China to Germany made up just 6.2% of total German exports in the first half of the year, marking the lowest share since 2016. Moreover, there was a decline of about 8.4% in the value of goods Germany exported to China during the same period, indicating a significant retraction in bilateral trade relations. The recently released trade data for China in July has sparked global concerns about a notable economic slowdown. The figures reveal a significant decline in both imports and exports, surpassing expectations. Exports experienced a sharp year-on-year drop of 14.5%, representing the fastest decline since the 2020 pandemic outbreak. The impact on exports to the United States and the European Union was particularly pronounced, with a 23% decrease for the US and a 20% decrease for the EU. This decline in trade indicates not only a lack of external demand but also highlights challenges in domestic demand, leading to a simultaneous contraction in both exports and imports. While exports to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, Xi'an, increased by 21.43% year-on-year, the growth rate has narrowed. The overall situation poses a significant challenge to the Chinese economy, as both historical drivers of growth, consumption, and investment face pessimistic outlooks. Investment recovery is anticipated to be slow, and exports are under substantial pressure, making domestic consumption a potential lifeline. However, resolving consumption issues is complex, requiring addressing internal challenges related to information, investment, and income. The startling decline in China's exports to critical markets such as members of the European Union is not an isolated phenomenon but is intricately linked to broader global trade dynamics. Factors including complex geopolitical tensions, the deflation within China's manufacturing sector, and diminishing international market demand have coalesced, challenging China's standing as a preeminent trading partner in the European and American markets. These shifts are indicative of a nuanced reshaping of global trading alliances and the emergence of new economic power dynamics, with countries potentially reevaluating and diversifying their trading dependencies away from China.